name's TImo. I'm down here in my shop. I'm kind of crouched down so you can see my workbench and so you can see me if I can explain what I'm going to do. What I'm going to show you today is I'm going to make an LED hot light, something that stays on all the time. I've looked through the market and there's lots of LED choices, but they tend to be panels, and on a recent project I have used LED panels, but first of all, they're very expensive. Second of all, they tend to be hard to color correct, especially in mixed lighting situations, and they're not bright enough to actually use without mixing the light. So I had a lot of trouble with them. So I kept thinking there must be another option. There are very expensive, high output LED solutions out there, but I wanted to see if I can give a go in making something. And I've prototyped this, what I'm going to show you, and it works pretty well. It's not super high output, but actually I'm shooting this with the prototype so you can see the amount of light that it produces is not too bad. So the whole project revolves around buying an LED spotlight. They're not super cheap, but they're not that expensive either compared to what you'd get at a photo store. I picked a daylight balanced light, and this one is 1400 lumens at only 23 watts, so you can just use it as a regular light outlet or light socket. 1400 lumens for one light bulb is not too bad. If you string 3 of them together, you get up to a decent amount of light for a situation. I am plugging them in. I'm not worried about going on battery, but even 23 watts, if you decide to hook it up to a battery, wouldn't be too much trouble down the road. But so for right now, the bulk of my system relies on these spotlights. Then I'm building a bracket that I can hook up to a light stand and an umbrella mount. So here we go. So I'm just doing this to provide you with a design, reference. I'm not really going to give you a step by step. I'll show you a little bit of what I do. I'm going to show you the keys to this, what makes this whole thing work. And so, number one, I got this cheap shop light for like $6. I'm just going to take this off. It unscrews. Again, my actual LED light, some small screws that'll work with the light in these holes here, some washers, and then the bracket itself is going to be L brackets. I got all this stuff at the hardware store, easy enough. And then the key item here is a 1/4 inch tap, so that you're going to be able to use this with other photo accessories, kind of basically like the 1/4 inch base plate that you would have on your camera. And so let me show you how I'm going to do this. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be drilling the tap hole for the 1/4 inch threaded hole in the bracket. So what I'm going to do before I turn this thing on is get some cutting fluid onto my drill press, turn it on, and this should go. That's all there is to it. So I'm here, I've put the bracket into my bench vise, and I'm going to tap the hole so that a threaded 1/4 inch screw will fit into it. And I put it into my bench vise this way so that I can get it nice and flat. So I'm inside. Now I have all the pieces of the bracket laid out here. I've taken this apart. So basically all it is just the light switch, the cheap kind. So here's the bracket that I've drilled. So you can see there's a little hole here, and then there's the tapped hole right there, and I'll show you that in a second. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to piece all these things together. I'm going to put a bunch of washers in place. I think 5 or 6 is enough. see what I'm doing here. It's the washers. I'm just holding it. So normally, it's going to hold onto this part of the light like this. What I'm going to do is actually clamp it on to the light, because this thing is actually very heavy and I want it to be as close to the center of gravity, which is somewhere in here. But before I do that, so I'm going to tighten it up a little. What I've found is that both these metal surfaces are very slick, so they slide on each other. I would put a piece of rubber or something, but the light actually heats up. So what I've come upon is I'm going to use a piece of vinyl electrical tape. Should be pretty heat resistant, and it feels slick, but once you put a little bit of pressure on it and it warms up, it becomes pretty sticky. So if you double it back, we're going to get a little piece of rubber in there, so that when we crank down on this, the two pieces of metal are not going to slide on each other as much. So that's rock solid. Now my bracket, and then what you're going to do is this. Screw the light in. You have your bracket. So we're going to use, so obviously this is just a 1/4 inch thread. You can put it on, you know, a camera tripod plate, or you can put it on whatever, you know, all the accessories tend to use 1/4 inch ones. So this is a light stand with a brass post. That I can use one of these, an umbrella adapter. Slide it in. And now I can put it on my light stand, use umbrellas. There you go. And light bracket. Hopefully this helps you come up with something for yourself. All these bracket parts and the light switch were about 10 or 15 bucks. This, you know, this spotlight, this LED spotlight was about 40, and the umbrella bracket's another 10 to 20 bucks. Hope this inspires you to come up with something cheap. Good way to have hot lights for your video. Cheers!